So this is an area where I thought we would do a lot more checking than betting, but potentially because we got the Queen of Spades, maybe that just gives us, more incentive to bet and be able to bluff some spade rivers. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. All right, guys, welcome to today's stream. I'll do a proper intro in a moment. First of all, though, I need to make sure that you can hear me. So if you can, send me a message in the chat that says, hey, yep, we can hear you, or some, words to that effect. That would be really, really helpful. Have a quick look to see who's in the chat already, which is awesome. As I said, I'm going to do a proper intro in a moment, but I just want to make sure that you can hear me. 10K challenge, first time chatter, can hear you. Andres Faye, first time chatter. Chop you up, first time chatter. Brilliant, we can hear you. Awesome. Right, well, I am pleased. There's 20 viewers already in the stream. That's awesome. Welcome. I hope everyone's doing well. I can't remember the last time I streamed. I want to say it was probably October. We did another DTO stream then. Was it October or was it earlier? I think it was probably October. Wow, what's that noise? That was pretty extreme. That probably means someone followed, maybe. There's a bit of a delay with the audio though, right? So yeah, I'm not sure. Hopefully that audio is not going to come through too loud as we go. But I'm using the DTO overlay rather than the MTT Poker School overlay. So probably if we used the MTT Poker School one, it would have said something like, you've got a new follower or something like that. But we've not got that on here. All right, I think we should start. I'm just checking things. As I said, I haven't streamed for 4 months, so I feel like a noob again. If this goes really well, maybe I'll stream a bit more in the future. Do some live play and explains and some study stuff like this. Okay, so you can hear me. Everyone's good. Chop You Up says hello. Hello, how's it going? Good to see you. I can see loads and loads and loads of new followers on Twitch, which is excellent. I appreciate that. I sent an email out to all of my followers. If you're not a current subscriber on the newsletter, you should be. mttpokerschool.com/newsletter. Get one tip to improve your tournament poker training every single week. Chop You Up says, and if it doesn't go well, we're going to see you again in 6 months. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's enough waffle. You came for the good stuff. We've already lost 2 viewers, so let's get into it, guys. Guys, welcome to this. This is a DTO focused stream. We are going to be looking at turn strategy in position against the big blind after the flop goes check, bet, call, and the big blind checks. I guess we might have some time to do what a big blind might do on certain turn cards, but I think on the whole we are going to focus on in positions strategy. So what I want to look at is a way that I would group turn cards and what that means for your turn strategy, so your double barrel strategy. But also make sure that we're looking at different flop textures in the first place, because I'm going to go through a few groupings in a moment. Some of you might be familiar if you've read my newsletter regularly, or you've taken any of my coaching, whether it's one-on-one or the group coaching, or taken any of my courses, then you'll know how I group turns together. But it's good to do a refresher on this. So that's what we're going to focus on. And the turn groupings are going to change based on the flop texture. So you can see this board here, this ace-ace-9 board. I would call this a paired board. The turns are going to be different on this board than, say, I don't know, a king-queen-jack board with a king-queen-jack rainbow, for example. I can see some messages coming through in the chat. I appreciate you commenting, and going to be lots of opportunity to ask questions and things like that. I'm going to test understanding as we go as well. But yeah, how's it going? I can see a few of you messaging here. Cool. So yeah, just to reiterate what I'm talking about when it comes to turn cards. we can. So let's go back to the flop. The flop we can group into sort of 12 or 13 different textures. This would be a paired board. You could call it a paired board with the ace as the pair. Going to play slightly differently in position compared to, say, ace 9-9, because the big blind has a higher proportion of 9x hands. It means that as the in position player, our strategy is going to change. Here, though, we're going to bet very frequently. Today, though, we want to be focusing on what happens on the turn. Now, the turn card, a club is going to complete a flush. 9 pairs the board, but, lots of full houses are possible at that point. And then there's lots of other cards. You can have an overcard to the 9. You could have, blanks. You can have another ace, for example. But it's going to be different. So on a king, queen, jack board, the possible turn cards are going to be different. Strategies are going to be different as well. And that's what we're going to explore today. We're going to explore the strategy, and then we're going to do some drilling. I'm going to see how well I do at the drilling. We'll see how we do. See how we go. We've got some problems here with the video that keeps lagging. Hopefully, looks like Chop You Up sorting you out. Okay, so I'm going to bring in this really high tech. You're going to be very, very impressed with this, guys. I know it. Very, very high-tech presentation. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. We have a notepad with turn groupings. So the turns are going to be different based on what the board is, but generally speaking, I like to group the turn into six cards. Okay, so an ace is going to be really important. We're going to play probably the strategy is going to be different on an ace than it is any other card. You could have an overcard as well. So like on a 10-8-3 board, a jack, queen, king is going to be classed as an overcard. A 7-6-5 board, any overcard. 8, 9, 10, jack, queen, king. You get the idea. Then we've got flush completers. Now, obviously, on rainbow boards, you can't have a flush completer on the turn. And on some boards, there's no straight completer either. So like on a king, 8 deuce board, there's no possible straight completer. Then we have a turn that pairs the board, and then finally we have a blank. Now we're going to be looking at some 30 big blind stuff today. Very, very often I never like to generalize like this, but we will. Just let's go with it and see what happens. On an ace, an overcard, a straight completer, paired card, and a blank, we tend to have a somewhat more polarized strategy. Certainly on this card, this is the bingo card. Any blank turn card tends to lead to a big bet and check strategy or a polarized betting strategy. But you're going to see it on all of these other ones as well. The one that you tend not to, certainly at 30 big blinds, is when the turn completes the flush and we start to see some smaller bets instead. So the first step is in being able to identify these different turn cards and being able to group them together. The reason why we're grouping them together is because it suddenly becomes easier to understand how to play. All right. If you need to, take a screenshot of this because it's going to be useful later on. I'll give you 5 seconds to do that. But these are the 6 groups that we're going to be taking a look at today. Cool. Right, that's about 5 seconds. If you've got any questions as we go through, guys, just type them into the chat. Looks like the only questions at the moment are potentially about the quality of the stream, but looks like there's only 1 or 2 issues with it, and we've got a lot more viewers than 1 or 2. Okay, we are going to choose a different board. So let's start with something like a King Jack X board. You do a suited board. I don't want to have. I want it to be King High. I don't want it to be paired. Let's do other. Let's choose something like this King Jack 3 board. So we're going to talk about turn groupings. We're going to talk about strategies. We're also going to talk about this idea of threshold, but I'll get into it in a moment. So I'm just going to choose, a small bet on the flop. So go small bet and a call. And we're going to have a blank turn card. We're going to start with a blank turn card. Now, we wouldn't ever expect the big blind to have any leads here. Well, what's this funky ace 5 doing in here? Doesn't exist. Okay, cool. So we wouldn't expect any leads. It's just 100% check, but some funky ace 5. But anyway, they're going to check on this blank turn card, and we have a decision to make. Now, before I even click on this, my idea is that we're pretty much going to be big bet and check. Okay, we're going to use this bet 81, or we're going to check. So and we'll see if that's the case in a moment. I mean, actually, let's just do it now. Okay, brilliant. We've first task. We succeeded at our first task, which was working out what the strategy was going to look like on the turn. As I said, a blank turn card, very often when you're playing shallow like this, 30 big blinds deep in an MTT, you're going to be big bet and check on the turn. Okay, on this blank turn card. There's a question here. What about 120 to 150% pot bet on the turn when it's a blank? Good question. At 30 big blinds, the 81% is the geometric sizing. I probably wouldn't go any bigger than that. The way that I approach this, so let's go back. This is why I love the DTO sizes, is because this pot size here, this 81%, this big bet, pretty much, I'm pretty sure, is going to allow us to have 81% back on the river. So this is the geometric bet size. And then we use a number that's roughly half. It can be smaller than that if you wanted to do like 33 and 81. It'll be absolutely fine. So that's how I would approach like having two bet sizes on the turn. But what we really want to do is to, if we can, reduce the options. So on a blank turn, we know it's going to be this one, like a big bet, or we know it's going to be a check. All right. And if I just pull up this strategy again, you can see that that's exactly what's going on. This bet 7.27 is a big bet. So hands in sort of this orangey brown color. I'm sure you guys think it's a different color than that. But that's we're going to be betting, and then the hands in green are going to be going for a check. So I mentioned earlier on we're going to be looking at different turn groupings, but we also want to think about the threshold for betting. So the way I would kind of think about it, maybe I need to bring in the great this great presentation software again. Is that at the top? So we're basically going to bet hands for value at the top, and then at the bottom we're going to bet hands as a bluff, I guess. And then the hands in the middle, hands with showdown value, are going to check back. Now, this idea of like sort of polarized betting strategies, betting ranges, works really well on the river as well, because you'd bet your best hands for value. You would bet hands as a bluff. And then the hands that you couldn't bet for value, you're going to check back. And then suddenly you'd see a showdown. On the turn, it's slightly different, right? You can't check back and then guarantee you're going to see the showdown. So, but the principle is still the same. We just want to find out at what point, you can see I've got my mouse here. There's a point where value, like it's too thin to bet for value and therefore becomes a check. But then also there's going to be some hands that don't have enough showdown value that want to start betting as a bluff. And and it's not a case of like just bet your best hands for value, because sometimes, I'll have a look in a moment, but something like top set on this King Jack 3 board is blocks a lot of your opponent's continues. So if I take this one out, so pocket kings checks back. All right, so it's not that's the single best hand that we could possibly have in this spot, but it actually checks. So it's not a case of when I talk about sort of polarized betting strategies, it's not necessarily like the best hands. It's a lot of the strong hands. It just might not be the one that blocks a lot of your opponent's continues. Okay, and also just is really, really strong. You can check back turn and do some stuff on the river. So what we want to do is we want to see where the value ends and checking begins. So this is kind of where it is, right? So King 10 is a value bet. King Queen, King Jack, King 10 can still value bet for the big size, but then it starts dropping away at King 7, and then King 6 we just check. But there are also some bets with Jack X hands, but to be honest, like there's not that I can see, there's no Jack X hands that bet 100% of the time. So we're going to be betting a lot of our King X and better. So, you've got King X in here, you've got King Jack. This is low Jack versus big blind, so there's not going to be any Jack 3 or King 3 or anything like that. You don't have these sets down here, either 3s and 2s, but you do have a set of Jacks, and you do have an overpair, and you do have, as I said, King X is all going to bet. So we know what the value is. It's really going to be like the best, King X and better, apart from King 7, King 6 starts to drop away. We've got a bit of Jack X and like queens, for example. So some Jack X is indifferent between betting and checking. Queens is the same. And then we've got this range of hands like underneath the Jack, the underpairs to the Jack, all start checking, right? So you can see there's a really consistent theme here. So betting, Jack X indifferent, King X betting quite frequently, apart from right at the bottom end. But then hands here very much in the middle. So if I bring in this again, you now know which hands you're going to bet for value, which hands you're going to check back. So all we've got left to do is to work out which hands bet as a bluff. So there are going to be some hands, probably should do this, that are going to bet very, very frequently. Now, sometimes draws work out really nicely as a bet. Other times, especially at this stack depth, we're going to find that we don't necessarily want to bet all of our flush draws on the turn, because what do we do when we get jammed on? We bet, we face a jam, and then what do we do? Similar thing happens with straight draws. So when you're studying these spots, it's worth starting with the draws in terms of the bluffs, because that's what we call a semi-bluff, and seeing what's going on. Okay, so for example, you can see that these weaker ace-x hands, they just all bet anyway. But there are some, so for example, like an ace-5 of spades has a gut shot, has a flush draw. So it's a combo draw, same with the ace-4 of spades, and yet it checks. Okay, so looking out for that is going to be really important. Ace-3 of spades, pair plus a flush draw, it's not quite good enough to bet, certainly for value, and it's going to fall into this check back region. Okay. And then ace deuce of spades, again, pair and a flush draw. So yeah, that's some of the flush draws. We can look at queen 9 as well. It's a gut shot. You could certainly get some better hands to fold at this point. Queen 10 though, stronger draw, 8 out straight draw. Queen 10 suited here, queen 10 offsuit down here. Don't think there's any others. You can see that not all of them are betting. So you got to think about so almost like grouping the hand strengths together and thinking, okay, now we're at the draws. So we've gone through all of the sets, 2 pair, over pair, top pair, under pair, second pair, etc., etc. And we've now landed on semi bluffs or draws and how we're going to approach those. So having a look at those and thinking about how we're going to approach those is really, really useful. So what might come as a surprise on this particular board is that the hands that get bluffed most frequently have absolutely nothing going for them. And so let me just hover over this hand here. 8-7, there's no straight draw. Yes, 8-7 of spades has a flush draw. Okay, I'll give you that. But 8-7 of clubs, 8-7 of diamonds, 8-7 of hearts, nothing. Okay. Same goes for 7-6. At least 6-5 has a gut shot. Okay. Shout out to Driftinator for raiding with a party of 99. That's very, very cool. So yeah, I'm not sure if I necessarily answered the question from Andras, which was about 120 to 150% pot bet on the turn when it's a blank. Absolutely, you can do that if you if the starting stack is a lot bigger. When you're playing 30 big blinds deep, you bet small on the flop. The geometric sizing only 80% roughly 80% on the turn. Not sure what that noise was. Apologies if that came round through super loud, guys. So yeah, I think I tackled on it. I know I've gone on a little bit of a tangent here, off on a tangent. Basically, you don't need to use such a big overbet if if the SPR. Basically, if the SPR is less than 4, your big bet doesn't need to be bigger than pot. So if the SPR is 4 on the turn, your geometric sizing will be pot. So if the SPR is 3, your big bet is going to be less than that. All right. So yeah, going back to what we were saying here about these, absolutely nothing going for it. These can certainly get a lot of better hands to fold, and you could explore this a little bit if you wanted to. Put the big bet in and see what kind of hands get to fold. But these are just like completely sort of, unnatural bluffs is a way to describe it. I think that would be quite a good way to do it. Shout for the follows. Appreciate that, guys. Thank you. Maybe I should turn this sound down so you guys won't hear it. But so I might miss some of these guys, but I appreciate them. Appreciate you following. Thank you very much. So other bluffs that we might look at. we've got like this random queen 8. Of course, queen 8 of spades is a flush draw, but queen 8 clubs, queen 8 of diamonds, queen 8 of hearts, absolutely nothing. So yeah, plenty of bluffs to choose from. But I guess, I mean, there's some hands in here that we just decide to completely give up with. So like a 10-8 doesn't have anything. Ace 9 probably bets more with a spade and stuff like that. But yeah, hopefully you get the idea now at this stage. Okay. Shout out to Chop You Up for telling Suited and Bootit what the stack depth is. Yeah, 30 big blinds here. So we're exploring this blank turn card. We are going to have a quick go at drilling this. I'm really going to put myself on the spot, but everything we've just learned we should be able to get it right. So what I'm going to try to do is to highlight, where we sit on this this spectrum of betting hands for value, betting hands with showdown value. Sorry, checking hands with showdown value, and then betting hands as a bluff. And this sort of we bet polarized. If we're using a big bet size, which we are on this blank turn card, we're gonna have a polarized betting strategy. Okay, so if blank turn card is only check or big bet. Okay, yep, this is good enough to value bet. Okay, we got it right. Whew. Okay, so we immediately jump straight to a draw. I can't remember exactly what ace 5. I feel like ace 5 maybe bet sometimes and check sometimes, but ace 5 of spades was checking. But this is like, if I get this wrong, this is a good, highlights an area that I need to work on. So I think it's a mix. Yeah, okay. Queens was betting sometimes, checking sometimes. I think a very easy, maybe what I see players do is, okay, well, I know it's big bet and check on this blank turn card, but queens, I think I'm just going to use a small bet. If you use a small bet here, you are going to be making a mistake. So I'd check or big bet. So yeah, looks like that's the answer. Jack 10, I think, was too weak to go for a bet. So again, let's pull this in. Our middle pairs, there was some betting with some Jack X, but they were indifferent, right? So between checking and betting, they just fall in this category of wanting to check back. So yeah, okay. So there's some betting as well. Ace 6. I'm not sure about this one. Potentially we can get some better hands to fold. I'm not sure. Okay, so we are just betting full frequency with ace 6. King 10, still a value bet. It's at that top of the range. Queen 10. So this is, I'm not sure if we even looked at this, but this seems like a lot of equity to want to bet fold. But I'm fairly confident we're going to bet it. But again, if this is a spot where no, absolutely not, do not bet it, combo draw, just check back. You have a really nice draw. You don't want to bet and call it, face a jam and have to call it off with queen high. That could be something that we're getting wrong. Okay, so yeah, let's have a look. Okay, so it's a mix. Remember, we know it's between check and big bet. We don't need to worry about any small bets. Okay. King 10, we're going to go for a value bet. Ace 9 off without a spade, I think, was just checking back, giving up. Yeah, pretty much. King 10, again, a value bet. Queen 8 of spades. A lot of the queen 8s were betting. It looks like with the flush draw, we go for a mix. King 8 suited was just happy to value bet once again. I think it was King 7, King 6 where we started to do some checking. So yeah, this is a good example because this is a pure check. And this is just really from thinking, exploring the strategy and going from there and understanding we're going to bet our value hands, bet some bluffs, and then the hands in the middle are just going to check. All right. Queen 10, I'm not sure. Maybe let's check. Checks 10%. Wow. Okay, so this is an area where I thought we would do a lot more checking than betting, but potentially because we've got the queen of spades, maybe that just gives us, more incentive to bet and be able to bluff some spade rivers. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking along those lines. Another gut shot, probably, indifferent between checking and betting big. Oh, it actually isn't. So this is I got it right. I almost should have got this wrong. Should have hit bet instead, so that I could take a look and see. If I'm betting here, it's incorrect. Okay. No worries, Fishmonger. Welcome to the party. So again here, mix with ace queen, and then we get to these under pairs. So it's quite nice to be able to drill this to it. It actually is giving us hands where we have already explored what we're supposed to do. So yeah, we are going to check this time because it's a hand that's firmly in the middle. I mean, if we're thinking logically, we haven't really explored that much so far. I think if we think more logically, what are we really getting value from when we bet tens? Like a 3 might start folding. You know, if we're going to be betting, we're going to be checking or betting big. If we bet big with this hand, do we get enough worse hands to call? Or is it, you know, the majority of their calling range going to be better hands? And if you can answer that question, then you're suddenly going to land on, oh, well, this is probably just a pure check. Queen Jack was indifferent between checking and betting. Same with this one, I think. 3x, I think, just checks back now. Yeah, we have some showdown value. It's in the middle of that range we talked about. We'll do 25 of these. 5s are just a check back. We're still ahead of some 3x. We're still ahead of some draws. So we're doing all right. This is going to be indifferent again between checking and betting. This checks more frequently than bets. 2 more then. Oh, this was the one we got earlier on, and I said, yeah, it's probably indifferent between checking and betting, but actually ended up being pure. Well, the last one was pure check. I wonder if we had different suits. But yeah. And finally, I'm going to throw it over to you in the chat. We've already talked about this hand. What do you want to do with this hand? Really, really quickly in the chat, type in, would you check or would you bet? And these are the 2 options, check and bet big. Cool. Yeah. Excellent stuff. Yeah. So all just going for the bet. This was the completely unnatural bluff. Very happy to get some better hands to fold. Hopefully we're going to end up with 100%. I'm not convinced this 100% is gonna last, guys. But yeah, I'm happy. Happy we got there. Let's see. Okay. Whew. 25 out of 25. I promise I did no prep for this, or I didn't choose this board specifically because I knew what I was going to do. I think maybe we just had a bit of luck in terms of the hands we were given. Okay. All right. So I said earlier on, I'm going to go back here, that when you're exploring like the different strategies, a great thing you can do with DTO is to see, okay, so we bet 7-6 of clubs. Logically, why are we betting 7-6 of clubs, right? So you can open up the response. And you can suddenly see, okay, so some Jack X is starting to be indifferent. We're putting a lot of pressure on there. 3x that's not of spades. Can you see all of these hands in here? They're suddenly going to start folding. So with 7-6, we're getting all of those 3x hands to start folding. We're going to get some gut shots to start folding. You've got some straight draws that start folding, not combo draws, obviously, like Queen 10 of spades. You're not going to get the best Jack X hands to fold. You're certainly not going to get a king to fold. But there's certainly a lot of better hands that you're going to be able to get to fold. All right, so that's just a really nice way to take it one step further and think, okay, so why 7-6 of clubs? Why are we betting that? And then pull this up and have a look to see all the better hands than 7 high that you can get to fold, which include some pairs and some higher cards, like gut shots and some flush draws actually as well. Okay. Question here, if we're going to play against a player that never folds a jack, I mean, to be honest, like a jack doesn't fold very often, right? So these Jack X hands are indifferent. Here's a good question, actually. Why are Jack 9 and Jack 8 indifferent and all the other Jack X cool? Does anyone know? And this will go back to the betting strategy to take a look at this, but has anyone got any ideas? Just help out Coco SH24 or Kokosh24. Yeah, blocks bluffs. So you've got to think about the kind of 9x and 8x hands that bluff. We saw like the Queen 9, Queen 8 betting quite frequently, right? So blocking bluffs. So you can actually go back and have a look. Queen 9, Queen 8, Ace 8, all right? Ace, a bit of Ace 9 as well. 8, 7, 9, 7. So having the Jack 9 and the Jack 8 is actually a worse call because we block some of the bluffs. And we can work that out but just by looking at the betting strategy in this. Okay. All right. So let's go back here. Oops. Little sneak peek into what's happening inside the academy. Where is my list of things I wanted to go through? So go back to the turn groupings. We're going to choose another one of these and we're going to explore it. And we'll do some different different board types as well. I don't just want to explore this one type. But this is the beauty of this software, is that you can, a beauty of DTO Poker Trainer is that you can explore all of these, all the different turn cards. Okay. So now we sort of think about those 6 groupings again. Let's choose like an offsuit ace. The great thing about an ace is that it completes a straight as well as being an overcard. So if we look at big blind's range, they're going to have some ace X that called on the flop, which is mainly going to be these ace of spade X hands, and maybe some gut shots as well, and like ace jack, stuff like that. But really it's like king X and jack X, and then some 3x, and then some flush draws, and maybe some gut shots and 8 out straight draws as well. Okay, so anyway, that's what the range looks like. So now we can explore the strategy here. And this is, so when I said, I said really, pretty much everything bar a flush completer is going to be big bet and check. I said we'll go with it. And as I said, I never wanted to be like, group everything together. But this is a perfect example of a straight completer and an overcard where you see a mix of strategies. And this, I think, is where it gets somewhat more challenging, right? As soon as you've got 3 options instead of 2, it becomes more challenging to study. But you can see, the kind of hands that we want to bet big. Our best ace X, some 2 pair. We can bet some sets. Interestingly, like let's just hover over this because I think this is really fascinating. Just looking at this, queens bets big quite frequently. Now, my biggest thought here is the reason it does that is we block the nut straight and we can get some better hands to fold. So anytime you come up with this sort of, I guess, hypothesis, you can actually just check it out straight away. So yeah, we're actually getting some king X hands to start folding. So we're betting queens because we can get king to fold. Obviously an ace is never going to fold. Similarly though, not only do you get some king X hands to fold, but you also get some worse hands to call, like this hand here, Jack 10 or Queen Jack, or 3x of spade hands as well. I mean, it looks like they're playing check raise, check jam with them, but you get the idea. So we can get some better hands to fold and we get some worse hands to call, which is the funky part of turn strategy, or betting post flop, I guess. Okay, so yeah, as I said, like it becomes a lot more challenging. I can already feel like I'm not going to be able to get 25 out of 25 on this one, but we're going to try and do the same approach, all right? And you can do exactly the same with GTO Poker Trainer. You can go through and explore what you're going to do with different parts of your range. So when you've got 2 bet sizes, you get to essentially bet a bit thinner for value, right? If you're going to use a big bet all the time, you can't big bet a king all the time because all of the hands you're trying to get value from start folding, or a lot of them start folding. So we saw if we bet big with queens, for example, we can start to get some king X hands to fold. So it doesn't make sense to value bet a hand like king queen or king 9 when the weaker king X hands are going to start folding. Okay, so you always got to think about it logically. Okay, so let's try and explore this a little bit. As I said, I do think I'm going to make some mistakes in here. Looks like sort of obvious checks come from the weaker king X hands. We've got some jack X, so 3rd pair now going for a check back. Looks like jack 8 is going to bet to get, I don't know, potentially better jack X hands to fold. I feel like jack X with a straight draw, I'm thinking like queen jack, jack 10 might still call, but we get some king X hands to fold, of course, as well. So potentially that's why that's in there. We've got some straights that look like they always want to, pretty much always want to bet. Queen 10 of spades doing a tiny bit of checking. We've got some ace X that wants to bet, although there is a tiny bit of checking as well. Aces, I mentioned this before about top set. If there was ever a card you wanted to, a hand that you wanted to check back, top set, blocking a lot of your opponent's continues on the turn is a reasonable candidate. I think the area I'm going to struggle with is kind of down here. Looks like if I just go bet all the time, we're not going to go too bad here, or do too badly here. One thing to note, actually, if I just do this, if you change it to relative, it just puts, you can see all the boxes fill up a little bit more. But what I like to do is to have a look at the sort of the makeup of the frequencies. So an ace is obviously a really, really nice card for us because we're not checking very often. So it's easier to go, okay, where do the checks come from? Okay, a little bit of top set and the weakest Jack X hands, and pretty much bet the rest of it. Now, where we're going to probably go wrong is in terms of frequencies and things like that. But that's a sort of a quick hack to see how you get on. Okay, so we're going to go for it. If I get 20 out of 25 here, I'm going to be happy. But really, we just need to recognise that there were a few Jack X hands that wanted to check back, and then everything else is going to bet. And as I said, where we're going to go slightly wrong is in terms of bet size. Okay, but we knew that one was going to be a bet. This one continued to be a bet. We're going to bet here as well. King Queen was one of those that we could check or bet, and what I don't know is kind of which size we choose. Okay, so we ended up getting our first one wrong. It makes sense. I mean, I don't know why I chose big bet. I already explained why we wouldn't big bet a king, so I don't know why I chose big bet. Pocket fours, we can certainly get some better hands to fold now, so we are going to continue to bet this hand. Looks like there's a tiny bit checking as well. Say exactly the same situation. With sixes, there's no checking though. Ace 10 we knew was a value bet. Ace 3, I do think there was some checking back. Oh no, hang on, we've got two pair. I was going to think like our weaker Ace X hands are going to do some checking back here. I think this one probably just continues to bet, but in terms of sizing, again, yeah, okay, prefers a small size, but we can choose big and small. Queen 9 was a bluff, so and we bet the ace very, very frequently. This is a very I was going to say, this is a very strong hand and we should definitely bet it. So this is clearly an area I need to look at a little bit more. Let's think about it in a bit more detail. So we have so much equity here and we block some of the hands that can continue. So betting smaller and encouraging action from worse hands is much, much better. Ace 8, we're going to be betting. Yeah, good question. Jan Blunt says, what can they call with? Way too strong to bet big. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, I made a mistake. Ace 8, potentially there's some checking in here. Do we just default to the small bet each time? Maybe that's the way to game the system. Potentially, we've got these bets in here. Ace 3 of spades, does this play the same as Ace Queen of spades? Is it too good to bet big? Do we just start with a small bet? This is where we might go wrong. So we've got an extra, what's that, 8.2%. I'm going to go check. Pocket fours, going to do some betting again. Queen 9, I think there's quite a lot of betting. Wrong size. So this is another good one. So we've made 3 mistakes so far. I was hoping for 5 or fewer mistakes over 25. So, with the 2 different bet sizes and some checks, I think we're on track potentially, but we've only got a couple more mistakes that we can make. So yeah, this is an interesting one. Exploring this a little bit more. King 8 small bet and check. I would imagine you can't big bet. We made a mistake earlier on of big betting a king, so that doesn't really make too much sense. So my guess is check and small bet. So once you start to understand the strategies, I think that and thinking about the logic about what you're actually trying to achieve, I think this makes a lot of sense. Completely unblocking the ace and the king and spades, obviously. I kind of just want to go big bet here. I think this bets a lot, but we've been wrong in terms of sizing before. Okay, no, it's mainly a big bet. Ace king, mixing between sizes again, probably. Nope, this is just a big bet. Maybe if we had a king of spades, sorry, not the king of spades, that's on the board. Ace of spades, we maybe do some small betting. But yeah, okay, we're very, very close now. I think check and small bet here. I'm really, really nervous because we've only got one error to get wrong. Oh, that's a bit harsh. There is some checking, but we've lost it. Okay, so I mean, now I think I'm just going to relax. We need to try and get five in a row right. But you can see, guys, that compared to the last spot, King Jack 3 with a deuce turn where the strategy was big bet and check, somewhat straightforward. I think. I mean, I got 25 out of 25, but here I think it is a bit more challenging. you add a bet size, you add a different branch of the game tree, it becomes more complicated. Okay, so I'm very happy to bet here. Let's go big bet. Okay. So big bet, 5.6%. Thankfully, it was over the threshold for marking us down. But mainly going for a small bet. I want to be betting 7s here as a bluff to get better hands to fold. We've got 3 more to do. I want to do the same thing here. 2 more to do. A6, small bet and check probably. Okay, well, we're not going to hit our 20 out of 25. I think it looks like we're already down anyway. And then 9-7 of hearts. I'm just going to continue to bluff to get some better hands to fold. Completely unnatural bluff. Okay, cool. So we ended up with 19 out of 25. This is clearly an area that I need to work on, right? Because I only got 76%. Whereas the first one didn't really need to worry. So another great sort of feature of the trainer, the GTO Poker Trainer, is that you can really quickly identify some spots where you might need to put in a little bit more work. And I think you've seen that in real time. And that's really what I wanted to show you today.